Hello, this is Malti Lalwani from Inner Bliss Healing. Today's video is entitled How We Secretly Judge Others. It's a very interesting topic and it will be quite eye-opening. Here we go. So the question I'd like to begin with is, do you notice that you secretly judge others inside? For example, a friend tells you about a new car that she's bought and you secretly think, how can she afford that car on her salary? It's quite irresponsible about money. Or a friend leaves dirty dishes in the sink before heading out to meet friends, and you think, well, that's very lazy and sloppy. Should be more disciplined. And throughout the day, every day, you find yourself silently criticizing others. My coworker at work has gotten very forgetful, very scatterbrained. My neighbor is rather nosy. My friend is self-absorbed with posting selfies on social media, and that's a bit indulgent, you say to yourself, but you don't really tell them. What does this mean? Are you really surrounded by people who don't get their act together, lack discipline, and are too indulgent? Is society really falling apart? Or is this a clue about something deeper and more fundamental about you? When we judge others or feel that our buttons are being pushed by the things that they say to us or the things they do, we may actually not be aware that we are projecting our feelings on others. This means we are accusing others of the very things that we reject about ourselves. This is so important. When we judge others or feel that they are pushing our buttons, we are accusing others of the very traits that we have rejected within ourselves and that we refuse to see that we may have. Here's how it works. Let's say you have a fundamental and secret fear of rejection, which originated in childhood from something. Now, you're not going to be consciously aware of this fear. You may not acknowledge that you have it. You may know about it, but reject it in your mind and think, I can move on. I can be adult about this. Your conscious mind may not really acknowledge it's there, but there is another part of the mind, the subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is aware of it. And your subconscious mind will always seek opportunities to work this out as an old issue, because the subconscious mind will be the magnet that leads you into situations where you can bring that fear into your conscious awareness. In other words, you will enter into relationships and interactions with people who will trigger that fear or unacknowledged trait or emotion or fear or trauma. You will attract a relationship where your partner will withdraw, will act cold, and make plans with his or her friends instead of with you, will have a hobby that they love that doesn't involve you, and you will be left out. So you see these on the outside, not realizing that it is connected with something inside. Instead of causing you to face and accept your fear, their behavior causes you to be secretly judgmental and critical. You don't think, I'm feeling afraid that he's going to abandon me again and I'll be alone again, which is the very fear that we're talking about in this example. Instead, you think something quite different. He never spends time with me. He's off having a good time instead of fixing things around the house like I asked him to. He's wasting money, smoking, playing golf, scuba diving, when he should be saving money and spending the day with me. So let's go on to another example, okay? Let's say that you consider yourself to be very tidy, very neat, very organized, and financially prudent and conservative a person. You keep your home neat and clean, you keep your car neat and clean, and you never spend more than you make. So you live within your means. But deep down inside, you're really someone who wishes they could just throw responsibility away for a while. kick up their feet and be self-indulgent for a change. But you don't want to admit that to yourself. You don't want to admit that you have that yearning. It's just not something that you are willing to accept about yourself for whatever reason. Perhaps in childhood, you did want to throw caution to the wind. You did want to be irresponsible, spontaneous and impetuous. And perhaps you were criticized and scolded, and you were rejected for being that way. So you shut it off in your mind that this kind of yearning and behavior is actually very wrong in your mind. So you come into adulthood with that subconscious thing that you've carried from childhood. Your subconscious creative mind will draw, and I use the word draw like a magnet, draw you into situations where you are around people who are sloppy, irresponsible, and flaky and don't keep their commitments. Seriously, this is the universe having a sense of humor. The very thing that you reject in yourself, I am not sloppy, I am always organized, and then you're surrounded by the very people who embody those qualities which you reject. Can you see it now? Now, this takes self-awareness. So, depending on where your awareness is, instead of admitting that I see this, I'm drawn to this, and I attract this because there's a part of me that's a bit like them. I could be sloppy and irresponsible too. And by the way, that's all right. It's not one of life's greatest sins. So not being aware of it, there's a block and there is a denial. So instead of saying, surrounded by sloppy people, I could be like that. And maybe there's something that I need to forgive in myself or just be okay with. Instead of doing that, you will find yourself secretly judging them. And the judging creates separation. I am not like them. They are not like me. They are sloppy and they're unhygienic and whatever, but I'm not like that. When you don't, or when you can't acknowledge your feelings or accept something about yourself, it's a sign deep down, that you don't love yourself. Bingo. And if you don't love yourself fundamentally deep down, you never feel completely at peace with yourself or the world around you and how it unfolds. You'll always find something to complain about. The people in your life who come into your life will be less than perfect because you think you're less than perfect. And unless you can learn to love yourself and accept yourself and your feelings, you might not be fully loved by anyone else either. This is very magnetic and energetic. People just seem to be able to tell at below a rational level a person who just doesn't love themselves, and they don't. And the person who doesn't love themselves, they're unable to invite love in. There was one time in my life where I badly wanted love and acceptance, but all I did was criticize the people in my life. I had several unhappy friendships in my 20s, 30s, and the truth of the matter was I didn't believe them when they said that they liked me or wanted me to be happy. The reason is because I was out of touch with my own feelings, my own qualities, my own traits, and things about me. I didn't connect with what my mind and heart wanted or needed. So those aspects, I projected them on others. And I became quite judgmental. I would judge others for being the source of the imperfection or the fault. When I learned to love myself, everything changed suddenly. It changed in many ways. So you can see that this very subtle thing is rooted in the fundamental concept of loving yourself first. And it can mean the difference between things that you do to move forward and, when you want to make plans for yourself, your relationships. It affects every single aspect of your life, every single area, the emotional, the mental, the physical. Learning to love yourself in a relationship is seeing that you will create the very situations you need to allow you to experience the parts of yourself that you cannot love. This is magic. The universe will always reflect to you parts of yourself that you don't love. Now, it's a little bit like a mansion, okay? So I use this analogy of the mansion, and I took it from a book that I read 5 years ago. It's called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers, and it was about shadow. And basically, our entire selves, can be compared to a mansion. And the mansion has lots of rooms, should we say 30, 40 rooms. And we're not entirely happy with every single room. So when guests come over, we're ashamed of some rooms, so we lock certain rooms up. So as time goes by, those 40 rooms aren't really open. They don't let in the light and the air, or you close the windows. And so people walk around the house thinking that this is all there is, and they don't peer into the rooms. You may have locked up the study because you think it's unnecessary. You may have locked up the tea room or the conservatory or the den or the spare room. And people don't see the entire the entire house in all its splendor and all its glory. Now, the universe actually doesn't allow you to get away with it. And it's very energetic. We don't know why yet. But it will send people and situations into your life to show you that. It's just that you have to understand the language being used and become aware. So when you get into a situation where you feel that you have to judge, you always see the wrong in others. And it's because you don't love the entire part of you. You don't love the whole of me. There's a movie with Lily Tomlin and Steve Martin, and it's called All of Me. And I think the song goes, all of me, why not take all of me? And it's really thinking of yourself as all of you, the entire picture that you are. So when you begin to love all aspects of yourself, and I think I've got it right, okay, when you start to love yourself, but I'm going to go further, when you start to love all aspects of you, you stop seeing the wrong in others. You stop being triggered by others, regardless of whether they come from a good place or whether they're just being spiteful. And most people don't push our buttons deliberately. They really don't. When they push our buttons, they're coming from another place. They're coming from anger, confusion. They're coming from their own issues. When you start to accept all of you without judgment, you become a less judgmental person. And in closing, this sentence, when you love all of yourself, as if by magic, you will find yourself being completely loved by others. This is one of the most beautiful lessons that we could ever learn on this path, on the earth plane. Thank you for watching. Blessings.